Okay.
All right. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful live event. Under these odd circumstances, energetically, I bet like many of us, and also you are feeling the effects of this whole shift, of the solar flares, of all the alignments that are going on right now. Like it's kind of difficult a bit to like navigate these energies. I get like most of us are like feeling this fatigue and this, I know, like tiredness. Like that's what I've been into in the past 2 weeks, basically. Okay. And the event just didn't show up yet on my screen, but hopefully it will. Okay.
I saw it come up on mine, so we're actually good.
And we're having electronic problems because we have like solar storms, which cause problems in our electronics and also in the electronics of our physical body too. Like we're experiencing that right now. That's why things go so difficult right now. Okay, so the main topic for today will be how to clear out old patterns and karmic belief systems. And we have our very good friend and light worker, Higher Vibrations, to assist us with this topic and to hold space during these difficult energetic times. Okay, so but before we start the topic, I wanted to share an announcement about our Patreon community. So if anyone is interested to join our private Patreon community where we have different types of group activities each week. We do group meditations, channeling sessions where I bring through my guides and you can ask them questions during the live sessions. And also we have a Discord community where you can interact with different members. And it's very much troll-free and bot-free. So it's a much more safer environment. And also this will tie in later on to this topic with alchemy and transmutation. If you're interested in the Hermetic arts or you like the Kabbalion, then please do check out the book that I have published last year, The Teachings of Thoth, the Atlantean. It's in the description. It's a free ebook. You can download it. You can read it as a PDF or on a Kindle or whatever you prefer. And it can be very helpful in like transitioning these difficult times at this moment. And yeah, it's basically about transmutation and what powers do we have over reality, and what can we do with the situation that is given to us. Okay, so I have broken down today's topic in 3 categories, and the first one will be to how can we recognize these things that come up. They may manifest as triggers or things that upset you. Some of them can be like embodied by a specific person coming into your life, or maybe a pattern that is being repeated. And hopefully my dog will move on with this barking of later on, but at least we're not doing a meditation. Okay, so after we have identified it, then comes the second step of actually acknowledging what is happening. Because and I think like most of us are in this phase right now, especially in our family right now, that if things come up and you choose to ignore them continuously, then that energy is kind of like stuck there. It cannot move on and you cannot really do anything with it up until the point that you actually acknowledge it and choose to interact with it and actually do something about the situation. And after you have acknowledged it, comes the third part of releasing it. And yeah, if it is the case for you, then alchemy and transmutation can come into this phase. You can transform all those situations, all the energies that have come up. But for some of us, it's like, okay, like I can bring up all the energies and I can just send them unconditional love and they are able to move on. But it's like each situation is different and each and every one of us works differently with energy. And also, in my opinion, like the most difficult stuff is like very good to use alchemy, like transmutation with the violet flame or anything. Whatever version of the flame that you prefer is really helpful in my opinion. But okay, so what is your take on all of this topic, Higher Vibrations?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here again. I quickly would like to point out also that Guardian's Patreon, I believe some of the message that you just recently released was from your Patreon meeting, and that's just a fun example of what kind of cool stuff can come through. So yeah, this is a great topic. It's and the examples that I want to pull up really quickly is it's really, I was going to do a better one. I thought I had more time, but this is the example of us in our experiences. Okay. And so as we spiral through and clear a specific thing, so we have done the healing and all the things that need to be done for that, then as we spiral up, we come back and see that same thing again. And that can be very discouraging. And so I just wanted to point out to you all that when you notice something that you've already cleared and already healed come back through again, it's not that you didn't do a good job. You're doing awesome. It's just simply that it's another layer of it that wasn't able to be addressed before at where you were at vibrationally, as well as with the experience and stuff. It's just like in a experience of a video game, it's difficult to jump in on level 100 without having done the tutorial and all that kind of stuff and gotten all the experience needed to do the next thing. And so I just wanted to point that out. That felt like that was important. And this is a wonderful topic for right now. A lot, just like Guardian said, a lot of this stuff is coming up for a lot of people. At the same time, we're noticing it through our body. So the density, the feeling more tired, more exhausted, the more brain foggy, and just kind of feeling like I'm bumbling around like a fool. Honestly, that's how I'm feeling. So, you'll be in the middle of an important thing and it's like, what's my name? And you're okay. You're not alone in that. And it feels very much to me like those symptoms, those ascension symptoms of that physical experience is an echo or another part of this that's coming through. As we're healing through things, it's affecting us in a physical way as well. And just to know you're okay. When those things are happening, sometimes it's scary. And triggers, I love triggers. People go, oh, trigger, and try to avoid the triggers. Yeah, I don't love them in the moment. They're not always my favorite experience as it's happening. However, to avoid a trigger is avoid the possibility of addressing a problem that needs to be solved. And the solution of these problems aren't as complex as they might seem. They're simply acknowledging it. Just like Guardian addressed already. It's you exist, you are real. That is, you happened, and I don't have to then absorb that, whatever it is. I don't have to make it be part of my identity. In fact, adding more layers to our identity is the opposite of what we're trying to do in this experience right now. We're removing these labels and layers. And as we do that, it's uncomfortable. It feels like you're floating without a ground to stand on. And just know that you're okay. And again, just like Guardian said, so perfectly outlined, is the end of that is to release it without judgment. So acknowledge it.
But that's difficult to do.
It's really,
in many cases. Yeah, like I think like that's where alchemy can come in for many of us. That's what I use basically. But you have your sending unconditional love to self method to it. Yeah. Guardian likes to burn things. I like to love things. It's kind of I like to burn too. Blow it up. No. And the violet flame, all kinds of different flames, honestly, really all are very assistive in all these experiences. And I just like to tease Guardian because he's my friend. For me though, it's true. Yes, I find the power of sending love to it the most empowering and efficient way of dealing with it. And dealing with it that's not the right way of saying it. That's something else too, is our language doesn't apply anymore. It never did. Our language is so full of barriers and preconceived notions. And even though supposedly we all use the same dictionary, we all have different meanings behind these words. So they don't vibrate the right way anyway. But yeah, I send love at it. When I send love to it and with it, as I'm releasing it, I am giving it momentum. I'm giving it the ability to move on. It's almost like I'm giving it the fuel that it needs, and so
And again, without judgment, that is the hardest thing, because we want to weigh things out. And as things come through, we want to analyze it, dissect it, understand why it's there, what's it called, what's its favorite food, all this, we tend to do that type of a thing. We've been trained in that way. And I think that conditioning was intended to keep us holding on to this stuff, and so it's learning how to walk all over again. And by saying that, it's meant to be delivered as, be gentle with yourself. It will take a bit of time, and allow yourself that time. And none of us are going to do it perfectly. Honestly, like I said, I'm fumbling around in the dark in a lot of ways, and it's not dark, but I feel blind because I don't know what this is. We've not done this before in this lifetime anyway. And so just give yourself the same love and patience that you would afford your child or any child.
Yeah, absolutely. Like on the beginning topic, I also seen a few observations. Like you can also share in the chat box what you're going through, or share where you are from. I send you much love from Transylvania. I'm in Eastern Europe sending you this transmission, and High Vibrations is on the other end of the world, basically.
I'm in Washington.
Yeah, we're forming a bridge of love and bringing it all to you. Okay.
Aho.
So, aho. And so trust the process. So basically it was residue of the issues you're dealing with that was still there, and which is why you are experiencing it again. I think it could be, like just as High Vibration said, there are like layers upon layers of these stuff, and like you can't really deal with all of it all at once. I think like maybe in smaller issues, like something more superficial, like maybe something you have created in this lifetime, maybe a smaller relationship, but like family stuff, I think like that goes the deepest.
Yeah.
Because our relationship with our family members like goes way back, not just from the start of this life, but most likely like we've been together in many other lifetimes too. So like we have all these contracts upon contracts accumulating and like binding us together in different experiences through time and space. Right. And like I think like that takes a lot of time and energy to like clear all that out. Right. And also, yes, sleep a lot and still tired. Anyone else? I think we're all in that boat. Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
especially lately.
Yeah. And also trust the process. Do we have to go outside into the sun to get the solar flash experience, even though we are most of the time tired and or suffering from fatigue? I think it doesn't really make a difference, in my opinion. Like those flashes and those energies are like washing through the world anyways. Like everything is affected by it. It's like not just a visible spectrum of light, it's like a magnetic field is like washing past the entire planet, in my opinion, how it works. And like all of us are influenced by it. And even if you were like able to like isolate yourself from it, like since the earth is receiving it, like whatever she's receiving, she's sending it, she's like forwarding it to all her children, like all her creation. So through her, we are getting all the codes. And basically like our task in this whole thing is to anchor those codes and make them more grounded. So like people who are not very much high vibrational or in tune with this evolving into 5D stuff can like receive the codes in a more integrated way. Like we're the transmuters of those high vibrational energies. And that kind of like also falls in line with the whole notion why we're here, that we have all this high vibrational knowledge and like we are here in this dense reality to like transform that into something that is more tangible and like understandable for more people. So more people can like, if they want to, they can choose this higher way of living, of like moving beyond the old stuff and actually have a fulfilling life experience. And like we're doing that on all levels, and it can be very tiresome many days.
We're getting to a point also where we're noticing, because of just what you said, how the different vibrations and soul paths and choices and stuff like that, it's becoming more and more noticeable who the filler people are. You know, like the non-player, whatever. There's a term for it. I don't play video
like
games anymore.
NPCs.
Yeah. You know, like it's becoming more obvious. You know, and those are the people that it's really. I've actually done experiments on it too. Someone said, do they take out? Do you ever see them bringing in their groceries? Because everyone needs groceries, and that's a fun experiment. But you know, it may be somebody who just only eats out too. But in this experience, though, vibrationally speaking, it's more noticeable. And to answer the question about the solar flares before I forget, that it's very useful to go outside also, but not simply for the solar flares. If you can get outside, it's really helpful. It's grounding. It gives us a lot of higher vibrational experience and helps us to center in a lot of ways, as well as grounding. And the other point I wanted to make is that right now, it's not so, we're having a rainy day today, but when these solar flares are happening, I've noticed that it feels a lot hotter than it actually is. And I'm noticing not don't be in the sun, but maybe not as much time as I would have normally. It just feels like
I
the
think
UV
it's
is
more
higher.
stressful for the body, I think.
Yeah.
To handle that. At least that's what I've experienced.
Right. And then the other point that you were making, I kind of did a little diagram, a different diagram. So this is the first layer that we're dealing with. This is the same problem. Or we can go the other way too. You know, you're moving down through the layers. And so you solve this problem, but you know, or this part of it, but like you said, the residue of it, I think that was trust the process. I'm not sure which, and then you get this healing moment, and then you find yourself dealing with the problem again. Well, it's the same thing. It's just another layer of it until you can until we completely heal through it. And just like Guardian mentioned, you know, when we come here, I remember choosing. I remember, you know, saying, okay, I'm going to take all these things, and you know, it's a criteria that's not required, but it's fascinating how common it is. Most starseeds, most light workers, most of us have come from a not so wonderful childhood or some type of trauma, and that's not required, but it's really, really common. And I remember when we were picking those things, and each one of those things, well, it wasn't, you know, to toughen yourself up or something like that. It was simply to, while we heal through that, we are also healing through all of everyone else who had gone through similar experience in all of the timeline thing that, you know, so we're healing ourselves for sure. But as we do that, we're also healing for the grand collective, not simply ancestral anymore, not simply, you know, my own past life stuff. This is when we are moving into this phase, it's more attainable to see that we are all one, and we are all of and from God. And so it's the identity and separation stuff starts to fall away. But just to point that out so everyone's aware, you know, that's not a bad thing. It's uncomfortable, but as we're doing it, just know that you're safe and know that you came here fully equipped. That was my point. See, I had brain fog just now, and I was like, what was I going to say? We came here fully equipped with the plan to do this, you know, and most of the vast majority of the important stuff that you're here to do, you do on autopilot. You don't even realize that you're doing it. It's your natural response to it. There are some of the things that we've been conditioned to do to avoid this healing, such as avoiding uncomfortable situations. You know, we learn to recoil from it when, in fact, oddly enough, when these types of things come up, we're being asked to lean into it instead of pull away. And so, you know, when we have in the past let these things have come up, we've ignored them, or we've like, I just don't want to deal with it right now, or whatever. And then they pile up. And those are the skeletons in our closet. Those are the the things that the shadows in the corners when we have our dark night of the soul experience kind of stuff. And so just the best advice I can give in that is do your best to give it attention, to focus on it. You're not saying I want you, you're saying I see you. You know what I mean? Just let yourself see it and know that it's there. Don't, you don't have to go run out and make anything unpleasant happen to yourself or anything crazy like that. But anyway, I hope that made some kind of sense.
Yeah, like I think that was what was in the last channeled message that I've released for the full moon now. That they were like giving this analogy of that you're in this room and there's this closet which is like filled with shadows and they are trying to get out of there. And by you ignoring them and like denying their existence, you're like keeping all those shadows locked in that closet basically. And it's like an uncomfortable situation for everyone, for them as well. And for you too, because you're like living in this environment with all those unpleasant energies like building up.
Yeah.
And like the only way to remedy the situation is by like releasing them and like letting them go, because they also want to get out of there. Like they want to leave the closet and also your room, which is like your reality. And yeah, like just think of that most of the time when these things come up is for the reason that they want to leave your reality. Like they want to leave your field, your experience. And it's time for that to happen because like we're moving forward on a higher timeline. And since we're doing that, and I think everyone who's listening has booked a ticket for the 5D Earth train.
Right.
And all those lower vibrational stuff that we're like still holding on to, consciously or unconsciously, like they're not compatible with that ride or where we are going. So they want to leave the system, like they want to leave our bodies, minds, our fields. And the only way that they can do that is by like bringing something unpleasant to our attention. And by acknowledging it, we can finally let it go. And if we like don't acknowledge it and transform it or let it go by whatever means makes sense to you, then we're like keeping them with us. And I think like the further that we move into that high vibrational energy, the more difficult that relationship will be with those unpleasant energies, because like the contrast is like becoming much more stronger between you and that like old stuff that you're holding on to. And I think for many of us, it's like very similar, at least in my experience, is like maybe some stuff. I'm trying to shout louder than my dog under the window. Okay. And yeah, like in my experience, like I've been on this journey for more than 10 years, and maybe stuff that were like okay for me, maybe like 5 years ago, maybe a habit or just a mindset was completely fine and was not disharmonious. But now I was like moving forward on my evolution and my clearing and healing journey, like those insignificant little stuff, like maybe a habit or mindset or relationship towards something, became like so disruptive. Like it's like coming to the forefront and it's becoming like very difficult. Like I'm really feeling with some stuff that it's like really holding me back from reaching the next level, basically.
Yeah, definitely. That's actually also a very similar message too, that Blue Eagle joined our Zoom gathering Tuesday, and that was what she kept saying too. Sorry?
I thought she was now in the chat box, but no. Okay.
Oh yeah, that Jacaranda Marie is though. Hello, and also
Fenya,
a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
Thank you for all coming. But her big message was a channel message from Jesus saying, leave the dark rooms, and just that was a good example. And that was also something that Guardian had said, like you said in that message. These our realities, our fixed realities that we have chosen to be inside are these rooms, and they're dark because it's as we're making sure that to maintain this room space, we're not disconnected from God or anything, just ignoring all of that stuff. We are somehow not able to, or whatever, interact with those energies. And it's it's a self-imprisonment that we don't realize we're doing in most cases, honestly, and so, just to remember to allow yourself to open up to some of that. And you mentioned something that I need to bring this up, is that a few of us have been talking about it for the past couple of days too. These weird scenarios are coming up, like they feel like warnings, like intuition coming in saying, hey, warning, this could happen, kind of thing. That's not what it is. As it's coming through, what that is, and it's asking you to, just like a dream, interpret it and experience it like a dream. So most of the stuff that the dreams that we're having, or the sudden fears that are coming in, are about loss of something, and that's asking you to release that. It's asking you to and not to say, so like even family members, even children and things like that, not saying you're going to send them away into the woods and set them free or something like that, but you're energetically releasing them and and giving them that opportunity to choose, energetically and spiritually speaking. And I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of people are having this fear experience and suddenly thinking this is a warning, a premonition of this thing's going to happen. How do I prevent this? And then we leave that place of love, which is God, and go to the polar opposite, which is fear. And in that fear space, it's more difficult to process and heal through any of these things when we're in the fight or flight mode, and away from that love space. Again, love is important. It really is. And so that is part of that trigger, that one of those triggers that come up just organically inside our own selves for us to heal through it. So I don't know if that made sense. I hope it did. It's kind of broad.
Yeah. Okay. So also Jana said that greetings from Michigan. Hello. I've been experiencing more back problems, muscle spasms in my lower back, and pain in areas of my back that haven't bothered me in years. Yeah, like I also have, my hips were causing me very much problems. I had joint pains and stiffness in my muscles for some reason. Like I'm someone who takes care of like stretching or like moving around every day, and I just couldn't like stretch or bend or anything. Like my muscles just didn't let me do it for some reason.
Yeah, me too. And also the muscle spasms and twitching too. I haven't had the twitching on my face for a while, but it was really annoying. It was up here, and then it would go to the other eye and the mouth area and stuff. But now it's turning into muscle groups and also Charlie horses and stuff like that. Not long lasting, very fleeting experience. We got that information a while ago, and it's kind of a warning that came through. Not warning bad thing, but just, hey, this is so you know what's going on. And that's that as that energy moves through us, it kind of catches on the densities and the densities that most of us have that are moving through us and healing away, which are just microscopic little, they look like smoke puffs on your body. It's really cool looking. I've never seen it before, and I started to be able to see it. But and so when when you're as a conduit, channeling this energy, moving this energy through you, it kind of catches up on whatever's the density spot is. And so that causes a vibrational experience. Like a hose against a screen, the water still makes its way. It just kind of makes a mess a little bit. But yeah, so that's what that is. At least in most cases, that's what that causes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and like my experience is like, like when you're channeling those higher vibrational energies, and that like comes through your system, and in certain parts of your body, maybe there are blockages. Mm-hmm. And then that huge flow of new energy like comes in, it like pushes out the blockage.
Yeah.
Just like you can like imagine having a river which has like debris in it and like deposits that like hinders the flow, and all of a sudden this flood just happens, and all that water just like pushes and like breaks down all the dams and all the accumulated garbage in the river valley, basically. And yeah, like it can manifest as like electric jolts in your body, because it's like clearing your system, and that's how your body reacts to it, basically.
Right. Exactly. And then some different type of activations too. I remember when Guardian and I first really started chatting, we had the same eye twitching problem. It was the same eye, and then it moved to the other eye. And like looking back now from understanding space, I could see that was when we were doing the divine masculine and the divine feminine, or like I don't remember the order, but like it came in at the same time that corresponding side of the brain hemisphere was also being affected. So that's kind of fun to see too.
Yeah, like in the past few years, it became very strange. Like for many years, I haven't thought it's like an essential symptom or something. I felt like there's something wrong with my nervous system.
Right.
That all of a sudden, just a single muscle somewhere in my body just decided to twitch for a couple of seconds. It was very odd. Okay.
Seconds? You're lucky.
Yeah. I only had it for seconds. Okay, so we have talked about recognizing the stuff when they come up, also the acknowledging stuff with the closet and room. Excuse me. And now let's go into how do we release them? Like, please do share your part, high vibration. Then I will go into the alchemical transmutation stuff.
Okay. So it's in my experience, I always meet it like with the mother experience, and so that's just how I resonate with this stuff that's going on. You know, like before I should say that, I should probably mention that before I always saw it as the good guys versus the bad guys, or like the light versus the dark, and some kind of battle, and like, you know, this kind of thing. And as I started to do this work, as I started to do the acknowledge without judgment and release stuff, I started to find that instead these energies are more like an annoying little brother.
Yeah.
What's that?
It works a lot better.
Yes. And this energy is more like a little annoying little brother that's jumping from behind the couch to startle you and got you or whatever. And instead of, you know, this big ominous bad thing, you know, and with that mindset, I got there. This is what needs to be said right now. I'm sorry it's coming through, but self-forgiveness. Through the vessel of self-forgiveness, we can then open our heart up to self-love. And then when self-love is fully available to us, then true love, actual love, not romantic, but love can be experienced in its fullest. And it's such a beautiful releasing experience. And so all of these other things on the outside almost solve themselves when we can get ourselves in that space. There are a variety of different meditations and things like that to open up and to do that self-forgiveness. But I've found that as things come up, we do this, the laundry list of the day, or what I said or what I did 15 years ago or something will come up. And the reason it's doing that is it's asking you to forgive yourself. You've already forgiven everyone else. You do that great, good job. For yourself needs to be forgiven. And then the self-love can happen. And then love for all, and the connected to God, which is that love that you're made out of. All of a sudden, all these things begin to happen naturally. And so I can't remember what your question was. I started to get channeled information and I'm like, yeah, and I just went with it and I started crying on live TV.
It's very yeah, I think for many of us, this whole self-forgiveness is like the missing component. Like we're always in that, hey, like forgive others and love them, but hey, like what about you? Because like you were a co-creator of those experiences too. And yeah, like it comes perfectly in tune with Jacaranda Marie, what she just said. In my experience, some of the traumas we have experienced have given us the opportunity to learn to forgive others. It can be the hardest initiation into compassion, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But how can you learn compassion and forgiveness if you don't have anything to forgive, basically? That's why we have all those unpleasant experiences, so we can actually learn how it works and like how to apply it. So please do continue in the spirit of unconditional love.
I can't remember what your question was before, though.
Yeah, like the releasing stuff that
Oh,
you need to
yes.
find unconditional love, but the first step is actually like forgiveness for
Yes.
yourself, so you can like let go of that blockage on your heart, basically.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely like something that bars the gate of truth, as it says in the book.
Yes, 100%. And it opens the emerald gates. Like you can, that's the heart chakra. That's the heart chakra. That's why we're seeing all of that symbolism over the past few years. Like, you know, it's a lot of the things that we have that are speckled through our media are meant to be triggering to assist us in this ascension too. And yeah, so once you get to that place, that self-forgiveness, that opened heart love experience, then releasing it is like opening up. It's the difference between, I don't know, it feels like I'm giving my child. A child is, letting them out of a cage instead of like, get out of here. It's this doesn't, like you said, and it's been coming through forever. It doesn't want to be here. It's a caged animal in that space. And then when we release this, the gratitude. And so release it by just sending love and like the light. I always make a pillar of light experience, because I've done that with wandering souls in my earlier life a lot, and so that channeled, you're bringing in the love light from God down through your crown chakra, and always want to line up all your chakras so you're straight, and then also bringing the love up from Gaia in her core at the same time. They both come through and lock in your heart chakra, and in that space, this, like, you already have this funnel light happening, but when I see it this way, when it locks, it's like it's like this big like highway of light, and then in that light, it's like the door, I guess, and so, and it's just like sending the love, kind of using your own heart love that you send. How when you push love, you can feel it leave your pores, like that kind, and doing that same thing to kind of assist and show the way to the light. And when we do that, everything that I used to see as like the bad guy ends up being like this puppy dog of, and thank you. The gratitude always makes me just go into a series of like hours of crying, because it's just so beautiful. But yeah, and that's how I do it. And as that happens, I always notice that the room becomes lighter in a permanent way. Like, I didn't realize that there was a little bit of murkiness in my visual field as a result of this thing that's a barrier, and so we're assisting everybody in this experience too. Those are deposits that affect all of our stuff. And so that's how I do it. It doesn't sound like it's very difficult, but it kind of can be when we're first learning to do it, because it's contrary to what we've been conditioned to do for so long. That's the only reason it's hard.
Mechanisms are not very complicated,
right?
But they have like a very great depth. And especially as you have said that, like, we've been conditioned to function in the opposite way, which would be beneficial in those situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, for most of us, that's kind of the first challenge to overcome, is to like move beyond our limiting belief systems of how these things can work. And like, yeah, I was also in that place that when these things come up, like, yeah, like I have to fight it or stuff like that, you like have to defeat it in this battle between good and evil and all that stuff. And it's kind of just like perpetuates that stuck energy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it kind of leaves because like it has no other choice but to leave to a certain extent, but you really haven't done what was needed in that situation.
Right.
And yeah, but in the beginning phases, it's quite difficult to do that. And yeah, But how much did it take, like how much practice or how much part of your journey did it take you to be able to be in that pillar of light phase and like send unconditional love unhindered to others?
Well, the unconditional love part really has only been over the past couple of years, because I didn't venture into the understanding of that self-forgiveness thing. Like I had always thought that the forgiveness needed to be given to others. You know, I never considered self as something that needed to be forgiven, someone that needed to be forgiven. And particularly, so if I had caused a harm to someone else, that was easy to see. I needed to, you know, or whatever. But what I was struggling with was, just like a lot of you, I had been through multiple different types of trauma, you know, where there was an attacker or there was something like that. And what I had done in my forgiving them stuff was I then took responsibility in self and like, well, I shouldn't have been there, or I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have, whatever it was. And that trapped part of that element in my energetics field until I forgave it, you know, forgave myself. Even if it didn't need to be forgiven in a logical sense, I was possessing it due to lack of forgiveness. And so anyway, I didn't come across that for the past couple of years. And so when I was able to do that, suddenly this light funnel became much more easy to do. Before, it was more of a flicker of light in comparison, really. I have been doing that for a while, and I always like to make I used to like to make the funnel light be beside me, because the energies coming to the light had been, the longer the energies are stuck here, the more weird they look, the more like they move weird, like some of those crazy scary movies and stuff. And like, and so I'd always try to put the funnel light beside me so they wouldn't come right at me, you know. And by doing that, I found I always sage, I always called in the archangels, I always call in, you know, and state my intention, you know. And stating intention is mostly for self, because you're putting yourself, this is what I'm doing. And so you don't veer off in weird patterns, stuff like I do anyway. And then, so I guess I was doing that starting at like 7 or 8. Sorry, that was a really long answer, but
No, it's fine. Yeah, like regarding that funnel of light, yeah, also Jacaranda Marie said, yes, open and clear the heart chakra. I have been seeing a lot of green in my meditation. You can try calling on Archangel Raphael to help you in that healing process. He's been very present and very active too. Yeah, like the green rays of Raphael corresponds with the heart frequency too.
Mhm.
So if you like want a specific guide for that activity of that healing and clearing, you can choose to work with Archangel Raphael more directly, like call upon him to assist you through that process. Okay, so now that you have shared your version of how to like letting go, I'm going to share my burning version too. Okay, so that's yeah, like I also took me quite a few years to like get to that centered love state and to be able to hold that energy under more difficult circumstances. But it's kind of more difficult when you're just starting out, because yeah, like you need to do like a lot of clearing and healing on yourself to work through the blockages. But there are like quicker versions of it. Like, yeah, like we have many helpers and also like energetic tools to like achieve a state similar to that, of being that so healed and in a centered state. For example, I think like most of us heard of the violet flame. It's like a wonderful transmutational energy that can help you in transmuting all density, fear, doubt, all blockages, sicknesses. Like I healed physical symptoms with it like 8 years ago, multiple times. So like it's a powerful energetic tool that you don't have to be a master to use it. Like it's there for everyone. It's public knowledge now. For thousands of years, it was like this holy secret kept for the mystery schools, but now it's public knowledge. So yeah. Yeah, like search for meditations of it if you're interested. I think I also have one, but that's more for like global healing or something. You can check it out if you're interested.
Yeah,
But
helpful.
try to use as much the violet flame during these interactions, in my opinion. First, use it to clear yourself, so you're in a more lighter state. And when you're doing the clearing and transmutation with the violet flame, then basically you're dissolving all the blockages that was like keeping you from reaching that state which higher vibrations talked about. And by using the violet flame and maybe calling upon your archangels or whatever guides you're working with at this time, can easily like propel you in that unconditional love state, being in that centered state when you feel safe, that you're supported, that you're grounded, and you're actually in a state of unconditional love and forgiveness. So when you're extending it, you're not only extending it with words, but actually you can feel that inside of you, and you're like projecting it towards whatever comes up, basically. And yeah, that's one of the ones. And the other that I have used is basically when you're becoming this violet flame. Like some of the meditations has this mantra that I'm a being of the violet fire or the violet flame. And you can like visualize yourself becoming the violet flame itself. And when you bring up those energies, maybe an event, a specific person, an experience, whatever that may be, like I also suggest like first centering yourself and going through that first phase that I have just said. So we're in that safe, centered state of unconditional love and support, and then call upon the nasty energies, then call forth like whatever is relevant for me right now, like please come forward in unconditional love and gratitude so I can witness you, I can see you for what it is. And then you can like send the violet flame towards it, like surround it, like let it wash through it, that experience or that person. And after a while, you will feel that this heaviness will be like leaving your body. You won't feel it anymore. And after a while, like that energy or that thing will just move on to somewhere else. It just will leave your realm of perception completely. That's
And it'll,
usually what I use.
and it'll always say thank you in some way. There's always this last poof before the eye experience anyway, that where you could get to see or experience what the energy truly is, just as it's departing. And in that same moment that it's becoming itself, its true self, without all the weird just being here too long results.
Distortion, yeah.
Yeah. There's that gratitude that just washes over, just whoa, just heavy, not heavy dense, but just a quantity of it. I want to point out one thing for just those who had the same experience as I did with the flames. The reason I'm not as I don't use it as much is that in the beginning I was dissuaded because I thought that the color of the flame had to stay violet, and I thought I was doing it wrong. And I would go, oh, what if I'm gonna, what's gonna happen if it's this color? And so I would just
Yeah,
stop.
I'm going to fry my brain or
I had
something.
no idea, right? And so it's perfectly natural that the flame will change to the color that is needed for you. To start with, the idea of the violet is another way of stating your intention, I would say. And like kind of the ingredient of this is what I'm doing right now. I'm doing transmutation. But then what needs to happen will happen, and allow it to be what it is for you. It's nothing bad's going to happen. If it's, I have rainbow ones, there'll be flicks of every color going on. It's like, okay, but it's not, you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, like it can also like change the way it moves, how it looks, like how strongly it comes through or how gentle it is. And yeah, like you can't ruin it or like do something wrong with it because it has like its own consciousness,
Yeah.
like it's self-aware, and it knows much better what you need, and it will like shift towards that. So each time you do it, it can be different, can appear to you in a different color or shape. But if you're just starting out, then maybe in the beginning it's more difficult to like make it a more potent flame, basically. And the more you do it, then you will find that the quicker it will come through your heart, or however you want to manifest it. And the quicker it will be able to become a more potent energy in your field. Like, for example, I think in the first few cases, I was only able to like, it was like just a shimmering little fire on my hands or something. You know, when you like spray alcohol on your hand and you like light it up and it just has this weird shimmer that just burns away. It was kind of like that in the beginning. And after a few days, it started to become this very intense energy that was flowing from my body and my field. And that's when I had like a lot of like jolts in my body, especially in the back. I think it was like pushing through many blockages and clearing a lot of garbage out from the system, basically. So that can happen in the beginning, so don't be scared. Yeah. But the more you do with it, the more you do it, and if you're persistent with it, then those jolts and those blockage breaking moments will be less and less potent, because you're working past that, so the energy can flow much more easily after you're transmuting them, basically.
Right. You brought up a point too, that so I had found that when I was doing those types of healings in the beginning, I would start to notice like a neurological experience, like the twitching kind of stuff. And the first, like the knee-jerk reaction, this is what I should do right now, is to adjust your body, to try to, and you're stopping that healing from happening, and so I learned after a while, again, to restrain myself from pulling away from the discomfort thing and just staying in that space, and it'll move all the way through. In fact, Guardian did a healing with me. I don't remember how long ago it was now, but the twitching was so violent. I was, it started in my root and just went all the way up, and like it was a very fascinating experience. But again, first thing I wanted to do was, I need to readjust to stop this. And it's okay, if you're having this twitching and vibration stuff that's happening, allow it to move through. It's helping you, and the last thing I wanted to mention too about the violet flame before I forget is, I found I wasn't the only one with this experience. Is why I'm mentioning it. Is when I finally did develop a large flame that was like a big surrounding me flame, energies, archangels even, or whoever can enter that flame space with you, and to not be alarmed. In that flame space, you are actually probably the most protected that you can be, but it is very alarming because of, I'm in this very Zen space. I'm in meditation, man. Like I don't expect to see somebody showing up with a ukulele. You know what I mean? So like, just so you know that can happen, and that's all right.
Yeah, like it's happened with me too. I think it was in 2014. Like I was doing this very intense violet flame meditation, and by that time I kind of like was able to extend it for, I don't know, like I think like kilometers maybe, the field of the violet flame. And all I was seeing was this infinite sea of violet fire just burning around me. And all of a sudden, this guy with white beard and white robe just appeared in front of me. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And it turned out it was Melchizedek. But yeah, that kind of like stopped the whole experience for me. Like it took me so out of it. Like, oh my goodness, like I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it's very alarming, but it's good that we mentioned it because, like, I mean, when it happened to me, I probably the same with you. I'd never heard of it before, and I don't know. It seems like I, anyway, can do anything if I know what to expect, you know what I mean? And like, if you can expect that to happen, then it now that I expect I don't expect it exactly. It's just, I know that's possible. Then when it comes in, it's not quite as startling. I'm not going to lie. It's still startling. You're still like, oh, wow, something. Okay, cool. How you doing? But.
Okay. So yeah, like I think I went through all of it, especially like the last part is very important, like what you actually do with those energies. Yeah. And in closing, do you want to share something, higher vibrations?
I noticed there's a conversation right now about breath, how does breath fit into it? And it was in the comments over here, you know, and breathing is for me, when all of this, you know, breath is really important, and knowing your breath and like letting yourself be comfortable, and sometimes being sure that you're breathing through your nose and out through your mouth, and that your diaphragm is being used, you're raising your belly, so it just can move through the right way. And as we breathe out is when I find the power of sending the thing. So what I mean by that is, if I'm sending love, which is usually what I'm doing, right? I'm breathing in through my nose while I'm watching the light shine down from God through my crown chakra and coming up, you know, and like this awesome light space. But then when I breathe out, I'm sending it. Like and that's when I really feel like the push, like, and that's where, like, you know, we were saying before, you feel like little air bursts coming off of all of your pores in the direction that you're sending it to. It's really fun when you can physically sense it. So for me, breath is the momentum of sending, you know, in that way. I don't know if that's really the question, but I have something to announce about my own stuff at the end when you're done saying something too.
You know, like also regarding breath, I kind of use the inhale when I do the violet flame or whatever type of fire meditation, to like breathe in that energy, the violet flame, into all of my body, like
Right.
just in all of your cells and like every fiber of your being, so it can like integrate with all of it. And when I exhale, then I just push out all the dense energies and like, oh, just let it all out and be consumed by the violet flame, basically.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned the flame too, I noticed that that's also true for the flame as it's growing, as I'm sort of starting in the beginning of the meditation. When I exhale is when the flame grows, and then I exhale, it grows, and then, you know, until it's at its, you know, how big it's going to get. So yeah, I don't know. Breath is very important, particularly allowing yourself to breathe naturally. And a lot of us don't, again, have been conditioned to breathe differently. Babies do it naturally. So somewhere in there, we're taught to breathe wrong, you know, and so mainly through the diaphragm. And so using that circular note through the nose, out through the mouth, I have found really helpful. Though there's a lot of like sinus stuff going on for a lot of people, ascension symptom wise. And so if you can't breathe through your nose, breathe, dude, you know, do whatever works for
mouth. Yeah.
So, but I have found.
Yeah, just try to breathe deeply as you can. I think like the worst thing in our society is that we're like taught to like breathe, take shallow breaths. You're like never extending your lungs or diaphragm. You just have this very superficial breathing in and out. And also it helps with relaxation, like if you're taking deep breaths. So please do experiment with it.
Yeah. And that's the breath of healing too. You know, when you're in that type of circular breathing, it's the healing. You can see it happening more rapidly. It's cool to watch. But yeah, so, thank you.
And you also had an announcement.
Yes. So through my channel, we also do Zoom meetings, and one is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If anyone would like to join, it's a community of starseeds, like just a conversation like Guardian and I here, only there's more of us, and it's not recorded or aired though. And so it's private, and you won't have to worry about it putting on your camera or your audio if you don't want to. So you can find the link for that in my community section. I haven't posted it yet, but I will post it in the next hour or so. And you can use that link to join our meeting. Thank you.
And you can go to Higher Vibrations YouTube channel by the link in the title of this video, basically.
Thank you, Guardian.
And please do subscribe, because she has some awesome content on like what is happening energetically and like how to navigate it. I think you more go into the physical stuff of what is happening to our bodies rather than more than we go in here. So please do check it out and see how it resonates. Okay, so thank you for joining us, Higher Vibrations, and lots of love to everyone who has joined us, and see you next week.